An analysis of Willa Cather's Paul's Case. Willa Cather lived from 1873 to 1947. She grew up in a prairie village in Nebraska. She hated it and moved to the big city as soon as she could. This story is written during the time period when she first moved to New York City, so it could be her first-hand relative newcomer's critique of city life. From a young age, Willa often dressed in boys' clothing and wanted to be referred to as William. She wasn't seriously trying to pass as a man, but simply seemed uninterested in following the gender expectations of a woman. Willa was very discreet and private about her personal life, but we know she never married and apparently was a lesbian. She's believed to have had 3 long-term relationships with different women and never dated men. When she was dying, she ordered that all her personal letters be burned. Being outside of the mainstream in terms of her views on gender roles and sexuality gives Cather a unique voice on these issues. Many literary critics have suggested that she sought to incorporate these perspectives within some of her stories. Rebellion in Paul's Case. Paul seems to be rebelling merely against the expectations of a stable middle-class lifestyle. He sees it as boring and lacking in inspiration. Some might find this lifestyle to be fulfilling, but that usually requires finding happiness in the personal connections one makes. Paul doesn't seem to have any. The title of the story seems to discuss Paul's situation in a manner like a doctor would discuss a patient, almost as if he is suffering from a disease. While Paul shows no sign of any medical problem, the disease he seems to be suffering from is a lack of contentment with his life and dreaming of something more fantastic or inspirational. The story might be conveying ideas about how easy it is to get lost in the big city, how modern life has become so impersonal, or how little modern life encourages one to be inspired by things. Maybe this story is a commentary on how the culture encourages people to never be happy with what they have, always seeking to be at a higher class. There may be a commentary on social class itself. Only those in the upper and middle classes have the luxury of complaining of how boring a stable lifestyle can be. Maybe this story is a commentary on how the consumption or enjoyment of artistic thought and expression is only permitted for the leisure classes, not somebody like Paul. Does Paul become the kind of person he wants to? Yes, when he goes to New York with the stolen money, Cather tells us everything was quite perfect. He was exactly the kind of boy he had always wanted to be. Did he do anything to become an artistic person? Oddly, while Paul is very attracted to the artistic life, he doesn't seem to want to actually do anything to become an active participant in artistic expression. Rather, he merely wants to be a passive recipient. His quest, therefore, may simply be about escapism rather than self-expression. Does Paul seem to recognize that his story will end tragically? Yes, but he thinks that's the only way for one to truly live fully. One has to engage in a tragic gesture. We will discuss these questions within the discussion board. Why did Paul kill himself? Why didn't he kill himself with the gun? Why does he bury his flower in the snow before jumping in front of the train? What do you think the writer is implying by the last line, referring to the picture-making mechanism? While Paul may be seeking to frame his suicide as a tragic artistic act, Cather seems to be showing the artifice or phoniness of his actions. Thus, while Paul may be glamorizing suicide, the story itself seems to be ridiculing his immature perspective. Some readers see Paul as a gay young man who is seeking to find a place in the world where he will be accepted and fit in. There is some textual evidence to support this, such as him being referred to as a dandy in the opening sentences of the story, his interest in Charlie Edwards, which is a possible crush, his attraction to the artistic scene, which has always been more open and accepting of gays. If Cather intended this possible reading, she does not make it overt.